Have you ever tried to explain your feelings to a woman who pulls away only to be met with silence? You started to believe maybe I'm too much, too needy, too emotional. But what if that silence wasn't because you were wrong, but because she was terrified of closeness? Welcome to today's video. When the avoidant is a woman, don't waste time explaining. Do this instead. This isn't just a video about love. This is for anyone who's ever lost themselves in the grey zone of emotional confusion. There's no villain here, only a deeper truth about attachment, fear of intimacy, and the unconscious ways we recreate old wounds in new relationships. In this video, we'll explore why an avoidant woman can be warm one day and cold the next, why you're left constantly guessing, questioning your worth, and more importantly, you'll learn how to stop explaining in hopes of being understood, focus on behavior, not promises, hold your value even when left in silence. Stay until the end. Because this isn't just about understanding her, it's about finding your way back to the version of you who doesn't need to beg for love. If you're ready to stop over-functioning in relationships, to stop confusing inconsistency with depth, then this video is your beginning. Don't forget to subscribe, because healing doesn't begin with them changing, it begins the moment you decide to stop abandoning yourself. Some wounds don't leave bruises. They don't come from shouting or insults or obvious control. They come from something far more silent: withdrawal, distance, delayed replies, and the feeling that you're always too much whenever you reach out for closeness. These wounds often go unseen, unnamed, and that's why you've probably wondered if you were just imagining everything. That's why this space, emotional soulmate, exists. Not to blame anyone, not to attack, but to give a name to the vague yet persistent pain that so many people experience when loving someone avoidant. In society, we easily recognize toxic relationships when there's betrayal or overt abuse. But there's another kind, the kind that seems peaceful on the surface, yet quietly causes you to lose yourself. It's when you're with someone who's kind, respectful, never raises their voice, but is never truly present. They avoid intimacy. They deflect emotional needs. And slowly, you start shrinking your emotions just to keep the connection alive. This kind of avoidant attachment is overlooked because it happens in silence. They don't control, don't attack, don't overtly hurt you, but you, in turn, stop speaking up, stop asking, stop feeling, and eventually, you find yourself tiptoeing inside your own relationship, afraid that loving too much will push them away. The hardest part, no one understands. Your friends say, maybe you're being too sensitive. You bring it up to them, and they smile. I'm still here, aren't I? So you shrink again. Your truth gets dismissed. You start believing the problem is you. But it's not. You're not needy. You're not dramatic. You're just a human being longing for real connection, something an avoidant hasn't yet learned how to offer. This video isn't here to label or shame. It's here to help you name what you've lived through, because only when we name it can we heal from it. Stay with us piece by piece. The fog will lift, and in its place, you'll find clarity. Not to end things, but to begin again with yourself. There's a painful irony in relationships with avoidants. They often cause some of the deepest emotional wounds, yet they are the last ones to be recognized. They don't shout. They don't manipulate openly. They don't cheat or control. They simply aren't ready. And that silence makes it incredibly hard to name what's actually happening, an emotionally unsafe dynamic hiding in plain sight. The first reason: cultural assumptions about women. When a woman is distant, doesn't open up, and prioritizes work over closeness, society tends to admire her rather than question her. She's seen as strong, independent, composed, Few suspect that beneath that detachment lies a nervous system wired to fear intimacy. Shaped by past wounds where closeness equaled danger and emotional withdrawal became a survival strategy. Avoidant women often wear the mask of emotional freedom. They're smart, socially skilled, maybe even warm and witty in group settings. They can talk about philosophy, politics, or art. But when you ask, "How are you really feeling?" the wall comes up. To the outside world, she's the cool, independent woman. But to the one she's dating, she's the woman who disappears the moment things feel too close. And this creates a deep split between those directly affected and those watching from the outside. You, the partner, feel confused, punished, like you're being pushed away for simply wanting closeness. Others, meanwhile, say, she has the right to want space. She's not doing anything wrong. She just doesn't want to be emotionally dependent. So you're left isolated, with no proof that what you're feeling is real. You try to explain it, but no one validates it. And soon, you start to question yourself. Am I too needy? Am I being dramatic? Did I do something wrong? No. You didn't. You just loved someone who never learned how to stay present with their own emotions and therefore can't stay with yours. But because their withdrawal is respectful and subtle, no one sees the wound you carry. That's the most painful part of loving an avoidant woman, not the coldness itself, but the world's refusal to acknowledge that it hurts. That's why this space exists. To give voice to the silence that has cost you so much. To validate the pain no one else seemed to notice. And to remind you, if you've ever felt lonely inside a relationship that's not you overthinking, that's your body knowing something is missing. Principle 1. Stop explaining your feelings. When you're attached to an avoidant woman, especially the quiet, overly independent type, the pain never comes from what she says. Your pain comes from what she doesn't say. And because she gives you nothing to work with, you end up explaining, trying, presenting your emotions like evidence, hoping she will understand. But here's the truth. Avoidants don't hear your feelings as emotions. They hear them as pressure. Their nervous system interprets your emotional clarity as I'm being required to respond. I'm being asked to get closer. I'm losing independence. So the more you explain, the more they shut down. This is not because you're wrong. This is because their nervous system has been programmed to deactivate intimacy. Research, Mikulinsa and Shaver. 2016. So the first principle of protecting yourself is not mastering the perfect script. The first principle is stop explaining. Your pain is valid even if they don't understand it. Your needs are valid even if they can't respond to them. You don't need their validation for your feelings to be real. When you stop explaining, you return to yourself. Your emotional power comes back home. Stop explaining. Start observing. Start choosing your peace before trying to curate someone else's comfort. Principle 2. Describe your needs, not their label. One of the biggest mistakes when loving an avoidant is thinking, if I name the pattern correctly, they will change. So you say things like, you're avoidant, you're emotionally unavailable, you have an avoidant attachment style. It may all be true. But the moment you label them, their nervous system feels attacked, not enlightened. And what do avoidants do when they feel exposed? They shut down. They pull away. They freeze. Here's what works better. Don't label. Describe. Instead of saying, you're avoidant. Tree, when I express a need for connection, I feel you become more distant. That leaves me feeling unsure about where we stand. Or, I've been feeling like I'm the one keeping this connection alive. I'm not blaming you, but it makes me feel alone. See the difference? You're still being honest. You're still naming the dynamic, but you're not reducing them to a label. And more importantly, you're shifting the focus back to you, your emotions, your needs, your experience. That's emotional maturity. By describing what's happening and how it feels, you bypass their defense system and stay in your own truth. You're not diagnosing. You're not convincing. You're simply owning your emotional reality. And from that space, you're free to see clearly. Can this person meet your needs? Are they showing up for the connection? Or are you chasing someone who can't or won't meet you? Your needs don't need a label to be valid. They just need to be heard by the right person. And sometimes that person is you. Principle 3. Prioritize mental health. Not constant closeness. One of the most invisible wounds in loving an avoidant person is this. You begin to believe that closeness equals love, and when they pull away, you try harder to hold on, even if it hurts you. You tell yourself, don't ask too much or they'll leave. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. As long as they're still here, there's hope. So you stay silent. You minimize your needs. You constantly adjust, hoping your softness will make them stay. But over time, you begin to feel it. You're trading your mental health for emotional scraps. You're holding your breath to keep peace. You're exhausted. Lonely. But still trying because you're afraid to lose them. And here's the truth. If connection only exists when you suppress your emotions, it's not a real connection. It's emotional survival. Avoidance may not even notice. You've become so skilled at hiding your pain. You want to be the chill partner, the low-maintenance one, the easy-to-love person. But the cost, you lose yourself. This silent suffering can lead to depression, anxiety, and emotional numbness. You start to forget who you were before all this. And then it hits you. The closeness you're clinging to isn't making you happy. It's making you smaller. That's when you make a new, radical choice. Prioritize your mental health over proximity. Ask yourself, can I be myself in this relationship? Who is caring for my emotional well-being? Is this closeness helping me grow, or just keeping me from feeling abandoned? Healing starts when you stop sacrificing yourself to keep someone close. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you do have to protect your emotional energy. Allow yourself to pause the conversations that you always initiate. Stop apologizing to keep the peace. Seek therapy not to fix the relationship, but to come home to yourself. You deserve a love that calms your nervous system, not one that keeps you constantly activated. Real love doesn't make you abandon yourself. Real love feels like breathing. Principle 4. Set boundaries without over-explaining. When you're in a relationship with an avoidant, there's a trap that's easy to fall into. The more you explain your boundaries, the less respected you feel. You've probably said things like, "It really hurts when you disappear without a word." Or, "I just need a little reassurance when things feel distant." But their response is silence. Or worse, you're overreacting. So, you try again. You clarify. You soften your tone. You adjust your timing. You try to explain in a way that doesn't scare them off. But here's the truth, you're not lacking communication. You're lacking a boundary. A boundary is not a persuasive speech. It's not about making them understand. It's not even about getting their agreement. A boundary is a decision you make to protect your emotional well-being. And sometimes, the most powerful boundary is a simple sentence. If you need space, I respect that. But I also need to step back from a relationship that doesn't offer any clarity or reciprocity. No blame. No drama. No begging. Just clarity. And responsibility. For yourself. Avoidants often don't mean harm. But they subconsciously control the relationship with ambiguity. Not saying yes. Not saying no. Just close enough to keep you hoping. But far enough to avoid commitment. And if you don't have boundaries, you'll stay trapped in that grey area forever. You won't earn respect by over-explaining. You earn it by showing yourself respect through your actions and your limits. Boundaries aren't just what you say. They're the commitment you make to yourself and stick to, even when they push back. They may go silent. They may blame you. They may withdraw affection. But that's not a sign you did something wrong. That's just proof the boundary is working. Setting boundaries is not about punishing them. It's about choosing yourself. And one day, when the dust settles, you'll see it clearly. No one truly loves you less because you have limits. People who are mature will respect them. Boundaries don't destroy real love. They only destroy the illusion of love that was built on imbalance. Principle 5. Protect your inner emotions from being muted. Emotion clarity. Self-respect. Reconnection with yourself. There's a quiet kind of heartbreak that happens when you love an avoidant person. You're not insulted. You're erased. There are no explosive fights. No cruel words. Just silence. Just moments where you open your heart and receive no response. Just their eyes looking past you. Not into you. And slowly, you begin to mirror their silence. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you're afraid that speaking up will make you too sensitive. That asking for closeness means you're too needy. That sharing your needs will scare them off. And suddenly, in a relationship with two people, only one is allowed to feel. Emotional muting isn't just external silence. It's when you shrink your truth to keep the peace. You start suppressing your feelings to keep the connection alive. You trade depth for stability. But that stability is hollow. And you do not need to become less emotional to deserve love. Protecting your emotional world means admitting to yourself, this hurts. Refusing to numb out just to maintain the relationship. Not using their detachment as the measure of your emotional validity. This doesn't mean dramatic confrontation. It means quiet, grounded honesty with yourself. For example, when they suddenly pull away after growing close, you might say, "I'm not demanding anything, but I can't keep guessing where I stand." That kind of uncertainty is exhausting and painful. That's not a complaint. That's a boundary. That's a reminder that your feelings matter. Even if they're not acknowledged, and most importantly, it's not them who mute your emotions, it's you forgetting that your feelings deserve protection. So journal. Talk to someone who sees you. Find safe spaces where your emotions can live without judgment. Your emotions don't need justification. They only need recognition. When you reconnect with your feelings, you stop letting someone's coldness redefine your worth. You return to yourself. And from there, you rise. Principle 6. Don't force intimacy. Observe their response. Emotion rational. Mature. Free from repetition. There's a truth that few dare to confront when loving an avoidant person. Intimacy isn't what they move toward, it's what they run from. No matter how much you love them or how patient you are, every time you move closer, seeking connection, emotional clarity, or deeper intimacy, they step away. And dangerously, you start thinking, maybe it's your fault. You believe you're too intense, too needy, or too quick to attach. But that's not true. You're just having a normal response to emotional distance. You're wired to connect as all humans are. They're wired to retreat because their nervous system equates closeness with danger. Avoidants often can't tolerate prolonged intimacy. When things get emotionally deep, they feel like they're losing control. And each time you move forward, they react with dodging the topic, accusing you of pressuring them, pulling away abruptly. Worse, you're labeled too sensitive, and they become the victim of your demands. You never have to force someone to be close to you. Real intimacy happens when both people feel safe, if only you are showing up fully. While they stay guarded, distant, or defensive, that's not a relationship. That's an emotional chase. And you deserve far more than that. The solution isn't trying harder. It's watching carefully. Observe how they react when you express your needs. Do they value your vulnerability or shut it down? Do they lean in or make you feel ashamed for caring? Observation replaces illusion. It helps you make decisions from truth, not from hope. For example, you say you want more clarity and security in the relationship. If their reply is, "You're always trying to label things. Why can't we just enjoy it?" Or "I told you, I'm not sure, stop pressuring me." That doesn't reflect your lack of patience. It reflects their fear of intimacy. A healthy connection doesn't require you to shrink, so the other person feels okay. If you're constantly tiptoeing around their emotional discomfort, maybe it's time you step away, not as punishment, but as protection. You don't have to keep enduring distance disguised as independence. You deserve someone who doesn't spiral when you love them deeply. Principle 7. Watch their actions, not their words. Emotion alert. Clear-minded. No longer lost in fantasy. Avoidants rarely say harsh things. They don't insult you or lash out instead. They use gentle, vague, and reasonable words that leave you confused but unable to challenge them. They might say, "I really care about you. I'm just not ready for love. You're special. I just don't know if I can give you what you need. I feel something deep here, but I need more time." Sounds sincere. Right. But if you pay attention to their actions, you'll notice they still avoid emotionally deep conversations. They don't initiate connection consistently. They dodge anything that looks like clear commitment. Their words don't reveal their heart. Their behavior does. You need to stop decoding sentences and start tracking patterns. Do they really care? Or are they just good with words? Do they consistently show up or just keep you in limbo? When you're hurting, do they approach or disappear? An avoidant may keep you hooked with vague caring or temporary closeness. But if you rely on their words alone, you'll live in hope and ambiguity. You'll hear that they care, but feel like they're always slipping away. True intimacy isn't built on sweet words or warm moments. It's built on consistent actions and repeated presence, not emotional impulse. Examples. They say they want to see you more, but never make plans. They say they don't want to lose you, but make no effort to stay. They apologize for pulling away, then do it again. Unchanged behavior equals unchanged feelings. Don't let words blur what's unfolding in front of you. You don't need to guess how they feel if their actions are already answering. Reality is the kindest gift you can give yourself. Clarity protects you from clinging to someone who only speaks, but never stays. The only question you need to ask is, do I feel loved, prioritized, and safe when I'm with them? If the answer is no, then it doesn't matter how nice their words sound. You don't need someone who promises love. You need someone who acts like they've loved you all along. One of the most dangerous traps in loving an avoidant is hope. Hope they'll change. Hope they'll come back. Hope one day they'll see your worth and love you the way you need. At first, hope feels comforting, but in an insecure relationship, the hope becomes a slow, painful delay. It keeps you waiting. It keeps you denying reality in favor of a fantasy. Worse, it puts your healing in someone else's hands. Avoidants aren't trying to hurt you. They're protecting themselves from pain, but in doing so, you're the one who bleeds. But your job isn't to wait for them to grow up. Your job is to come back home to yourself. Instead of hoping they'll return with complete love, connect to what's real. Connect with yourself through meditation, journaling, and feeling what's true. Connect with yourself through meditation, journaling, and feeling what's true. Connect with friends and family, those who make you feel enough by just being you. Connect with friends and family, those who make you feel enough by just being you. Connect with therapy or healing communities where you're understood, not judged. As you nourish these real connections, you'll realize something powerful. Healing doesn't come when they return. Healing happens when you no longer need them to feel worthy of love. You stop obsessively checking messages, waiting for an apology, hoping they'll change just enough to validate you. Instead, you begin to validate yourself. You live full, whole, without needing someone else to complete the story. No one can give you wholeness if you still believe they're the key to your healing. When you stop hoping the avoidant will come back, you become free. And when you live from real connection with yourself, safe people, and the present, you become not only more peaceful, but less easily wounded. True love doesn't keep you in long-term pain. It helps you grow, not fall apart. You are worthy of safe love. And to walk toward that, you must close the door of false hope and open the one of real connection. In the end, the deepest pain isn't that you once loved an avoidant. It's that you abandoned yourself, trying to maintain a connection that never fully opened. We don't blame them. They're not bad, just protective, shaped by wounds they never chose. But that's exactly why you must choose yourself. When you walk through these 8 principles, you begin to see real love doesn't ask you to trade your self-worth. Real love doesn't keep you in hope. It brings you back to presence. Real love doesn't need convincing. It comes with willing companionship. And if you're still unsure where you stand, ask yourself this: am I being met with indifference or with emotional conflict that stems from real feelings? If it's consistent coldness, lack of effort, and no commitment, you're likely just an option. If it's push-pull, emotional conflict, quiet acts of care, you may be the one they love but fear. Wherever you are, walk away with wisdom, not because you aren't good enough to be loved, but because you're too worthy to stay trapped in something unsecure. You may not control whether they heal, change, or return, but you do control how you move forward, how you love, and how you value yourself. As the philosopher Osho said, love is the child of freedom, not of fear. Choose love that flows from fullness, not fear of loss. Don't fight to be worthy enough to be chosen. Become the person you'd never abandon yourself.